On the 18th of April, which was Gary's mum's birthday, they brought Gary home for his repatriation. And I remember they brought Graham Livingston's coffin out first, and I cried when I seen that. And I remember when I'd dried my tears and looked, I thought, I'm not going to cry, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to proudly and lovingly watch Gary come home every bit the way I can cry later. But at that moment I was determined. I was going to stand there and I was going to make him as proud of me as I was of him. But I didn't cry. But my daughters completely fell to pieces, and it was the first time as a mum I couldn't offer them any support or comfort. It was terrible. And they brought Gary home, and I stayed there right until I couldn't see him at the tarmac anymore. I remember trying to describe Gary, and I was so desperate to tell people how great he was, and all the great things that you would say about somebody is what somebody would expect me to say about him in these circumstances. And yeah, I think he was just so full of life. He was such a character in himself, and you can never describe that or get that through to somebody. You know, he had such a cheeky, mischievous smile. He was incredibly loyal. He was devoted. He was caring. But he was your little mischievous, cheeky chappy as well. I remember when I said I'd do Kilimanjaro, and it's not until you get there and you're faced with these things. First of all, in a tent. Not one of my finest hours. You should see me try and get in and out of that thing. And I thought, he must be having a right laugh at my expense. And when I got to the top, I could understand why people did it. You know, the sense of achievement I had. But I just felt there was so many positive things. You know, I thought, out of something so tragic, we had something so positive. That I'd managed to do this for Gary, which was a success. A little bit of money. And I'd had bookmarks made for Gary's first anniversary, and I remember tying the bookmark to the top of Kilimanjaro, and I remember Gary's face looking back at me, and for me it was another grieving point, really, and it, a bit of a metaphor, really, because I remember thinking, it doesn't matter how many mountains I climb, I'll never get over losing you. It's always going to hurt, and I have just got to live with that now. And in a way I kind of went down feeling incredibly sad, but a little bit content as well, because I realised I couldn't change things. It doesn't matter. Nothing will ever be the same. And with recognising that and then accepting it made me feel a lot better.
I wanted to possibly go to the hospital, which I was able to do some parts of, and then to where they rest, the chapel of rest where James was laid before he came back and was repatriated, and obviously the memorial ground. You know, it was an amazing place, and I just didn't want to come home.
Really?
No, I didn't want.
Why?
I did want to come home to obviously see and Josh and things like that, but I just felt like I got there for him. And when I was at the memorial ground, I just felt like a weight had been lifted off me. That, you know, I just thought I was late. I was too late for you, mate. But I got there in the end. You know, they are looked after in that respect. You know, Bastion is okay, but you're not in Bastion for long.
And looking back at the young James, do you regret that he joined up?
To a point, yes. I do regret it, because it's such a hard one to answer. I knew he wanted to do it. I knew that's what he wanted. I knew he was happy. I knew he had great friends around him, you know. But you can't, because you want them to do what they want in their lives and be happy. And you're a mum, and you have to just be there to support them and for everything they decide to do, you know, not just James, Emma, Josh. And it's hard being a mum, isn't it? I just think that politicians need to be very careful how they speak about other people's loved ones, whether they be injured, mentally injured, physically injured. None of that is cared for properly. It's not 100% right, and until it's 100% right, I won't go for it.
Those first training days for the marathon started, it was quite physically demanding and mentally tiring. But going from the hospital into Headley Court, the rehab centre, they had that same sort of attitude towards all the military patients there, to get better, to make you go out there and do, to push yourself forward. And I thought what was great about it was, obviously, coming from a very active and responsible sort of job role, and then being injured, it's not healthy to not have a goal, to not have a focus or a target. So I found this long distance running as sort of a substitute to my job role, and again that really helped my mind, really helped me mentally to keep focused.
So London was your first marathon?
London, yeah, was the first one.
How did that go?
It was very, very tough. I remember it being a very hot day, and it was one of the few problems that I get with the burns is obviously sensitive to heat and to sunlight, and the areas of where I am burnt, they can't really sweat properly. So it was a tough day, weather-wise, but to run alongside so many other thousands of people, all doing their own part for a charity or for a cause, it was a great feeling.
If that's what feeling death coming upon you feels like, then I felt it. And you accept your fate.